If I had to pick my most anticipated film besides Sonic the Hedgehog 2, it would have to be Beavis and Butthead Due to the Universe. I love Beavis and Butthead. In fact, if it wasn't for BoJack Horseman, it would probably be my favorite adult cartoon of all time. At first, it seems like your typical adult cartoon where they're making dick jokes and talk about bullying women, but in execution, it's really smart and has some clever writing into it. And if anyone uses the excuse that's just shock humor like they do with most adult cartoons, Beavis and Butthead is a perfect example of smart comedy over here. And I will also add that I also enjoyed the film Beavis and Butthead Do America. But after 25 years, are Beavis and Butthead still relevant like they used to? Let's find out. So the story is that Beavis and Butthead are at a science fair, but don't have a science project. After stealing one of the science projects, which leads the school on fire, the judge sends Beavis and Butthead to space camp. Over there, they test out a docking maneuver for sexual reasons. The people at NASA think that they're amazing at it, including Serena Ryan, who invites them on the space shuttle with them. And of course, knowing Beavis and Butthead, they think they're actually going to score with Serena. And of course, they fuck everything up and get sucked into a black hole, which leads them into 2022. So while they're stuck in that generation, they have to find Serena in order to score with her. But what little did they know is that Serena is actually plotting revenge on Beavis and Butthead for fucking up her mission. And if I have to point out one of my favorite aspects of the movie, it will have to be Beavis and Butthead discovering our generation, including the use of technology we have today in this modern era. Not only is it a great technique for the film to use, but it leaves plenty of room to tell great jokes on the side. Speaking of which, the humor in this movie is marvelous. This has to be one of the funniest films I've seen this year. The humor in this movie is really well thought out. Like, there's this one scene where they enter into a gender studies class and they learn about white privilege, which means they can take what they want. But what Beavis and Butthead think is that it's okay to steal and break the law because that's what they were taught in class, going against the actual definition of white privilege. Now that's what I call clever comedy. And there are some other smart jokes they tell on the side. Rather it be the look-alike aliens they encounter, which actually end up being smarter than these two, or the Jill riot scene where Beavis actually rants about toilet paper because he's on drugs. When it comes to Beavis and Butthead themselves, not only are they hilarious like they were decades ago, but their friendship could lead to some heartwarming moments in the film. Especially when Beavis thinks that Butthead is just in the way when he's trying to find true love, which can end up making you root for their friendship. If there's one flaw out of the movie, it would have to be Jim Harson, Serena's assistant. At first it seems like he's going to betray Serena and actually help Beavis and Butthead out, but when Serena finally figures out that Beavis and Butthead are just horny for her, he decides to turn against them and just becomes the villain. And it honestly just comes out of nowhere. And it would have been better if Serena would have been the villain throughout the whole movie. But that's just a nitpick at the end of the day, because everything else is really well done. It has some smart writing, great humor that's well executed, and a cast of charming and lovable characters. If you love Beavis and Butthead like I do, then you'll definitely have a great time with this movie. Actually, I recommend those who haven't seen the show. Not only is it a great introduction for newcomers, but it's also a great introduction to the characters of Beavis and Butthead, and will show you how these guys became one of the biggest icons of the 90s. It's been a while since I've seen Beavis and Butthead, but I just have to say, I'm glad they're back. And they came back in the best way possible. And now that they're back actually making more episodes, I can't wait to see the shenanigans these characters get themselves into. The only thing I can say now is that, hit, that movie rocks, hit.